Joining me now, Senior Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Mike Gonzalez. Mike, how are you?
Hi, Lou. How are you?
Great, thank you. And Director of Programs at the Acton Institute, former George W. Bush Foreign Policy Advisor, Paul Bonicelli. Great to have you with us, Paul. Let's begin, if we may, with the impact of this election. And you know, I'm just curious, Mike. I mean, is this going to be significant in terms of whatever direction France does take, or is it going to pretty much remain a socialist, leftist government moving forward?
I'm afraid so, Lou. I agree with your previous speakers that Macron really does not have any solutions for France's huge problems, whether they are unemployment or the fact that national identity, how to have a sovereign France going forward. Where I disagree somewhat with your previous speakers is that Marine Le Pen could come back in 5 years and be the solution. She just proved to be not the right vessel for these important issues. You know, the threat of transnational governance, the threat of multiculturalism. And I doubt that 5 years from now, although changing the name of the party might help someone, look what happened to communist parties after 1991. She herself did not prove to be a good vessel for important ideas.
Paul, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Mike, although I do think she still has a shot because she's learned so much. You know, over the years, she has learned to moderate, to embrace more causes that are more popular, widening her circle. But, you know, Lou, the reason she lost, I think, is because French voters aren't U.S. voters. French voters are more put off by political incorrectness. They also are fearful of leaving the EU or severing ties because they know that Germany carries them on their back. And they're not Great Britain voters who had Margaret Thatcher to teach them that they could stand on their own 2 feet. But that is changing. 34%, 11 million voters, all those people that spoiled their ballots. The EU problem in France, the co-creator, is in real trouble still.
Yeah, it is curious as you look at the country that has one of, if not one of the largest Muslim populations. We're talking about right at 10%. Has had extraordinary terrorist acts take place on its soil. There's been no siren call to Marine Le Pen's policies or her agenda on the part of the French people. I think a lot of people are surprised that her message was not more emphatic and more compelling to the French. What do you think, Mike?
Well, let's not forget that she did twice as good as her father did in 2002 when he ran against President Jacques Chirac. He managed only to get 17%. She got 34 to 35%. But no, she could not. The history of the National Front is truly toxic, right. You know, in terms of anti-Semitism and racist. And she wasn't able to surmount that. And I doubt that she will be able to. She also is a big government. She's not a conservative. I mean, she wanted to lower the retirement age, which is now at 62. She wanted to make it 60. She was not going to touch the 35-hour week. We're not talking about conservative in the American sense. Right. Of course, Macron is not a centrist either. So these were not good candidates.
Well, they were the candidates that the French got, and they sorted through it and end up with the protege Francois Hollande, who's the most unpopular president in French history. I mean, it's a bizarre sort of contemplation to think on June 11th, when the parliamentary elections are held, what in the world will they come up with? Because if Macron does not have a majority or something approaching that, it's hard to see how he'll ever be able to affect any policy. What do you think, Paul?
No, I don't think he will. In fact, what's interesting to watch here is how strong will the center-right get? Will they take this opportunity to take some of the policies, as we saw in the rest of Europe? The more the far right strengthens, the center-right tends to figure out we better do something. So they could really pull off a strong parliamentary, at least a working majority, oppose him, and strengthen themselves, and maybe not make an utter hash of it. We'll have to see.
And the hacking of Macron's campaign data, some 9 gigabytes of it, frozen by the French Election Commission. News outlets, absolutely intimidated into not sharing any of it. Mike, I mean, what is going on? Further interference, apparently, allegedly, on the part of the Russians in an important presidential election.
Yeah, the West really is going to have a response to Putin. This was blatant. It was brazen. Everything points to that this being a Kremlin operation, but it didn't have the impact that Putin desired, which is good. We don't want to see this or have it be encouraged.
Yeah. You get the last word, Paul.
Yeah, I agree with Mike, but it would be nice if politicians would learn to stop clicking on links they're not supposed to. I mean, my mom knows not to do it. We all learn, so let's stop clicking links we shouldn't. That's what they did again if they did this.
Well, maybe what you're really suggesting is that we find politicians with a higher IQ than some of the current lot.
Good luck.
Mike, it's your project partner, not mine. Mike Gonzalez and Paul Bonicelli. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lou.
Appreciate it. Up next, France struggling with an unemployment crisis, but the Trump administration touting a strong jobs report.